Hello everyone, I welcome you all to my next class. Hope you all are doing good. And before starting with the topic, I would like to tell you something. If you really like the content, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Fine. So let's just begin with our topic, which is When You're Old, and written by W.B. Yeats, which and the full form is William Butler Yeats. William Butler Yeats was an Anglo-Irish poet. Before talking about the poem, let's just give the brief description about the poet. So he was an Anglo-Irish poet. Anglo-Irish means a person who is born in England and is brought up in Ireland. And not only was he an Anglo-Irish poet, but a dramatist too. Okay, and he was famous for raising the ghost. That means he used to write horror stories. He used to write horror stories and was famous for that. Fine. Apart from this, Yeats is pioneer. What is he? He is the pioneer of modern poetry. What do you mean by pioneer? A person who starts with something new, who initiates something which has not been talked about before. And what do you mean by modern poetry? Remember one thing as of now, because you're in class 10. So remember one thing, modern poetry is full of free verse. If you take the case of traditional poetry, in traditional poetry you follow strict rhyme scheme, but rhyme scheme is not important in modern poetry. A poem can be written in free verse also, which is known as the modern poetry. Now we come to this particular poem. When You're Old is dedicated to Modcon. It is addressed to Modcon and dedicated to Modcon. So who is this Modcon? She was an actress and an Irish revolutionary. Revolutionary is a person who brings revolution, who brings change to the world, to the society, to the country or the state. So she was an actress and a revolutionary. And Yeats was madly in love with Modcon. So he had written number of poems for her, and one of the poems is When You're Old, and he dedicates this poem to Modcon. Fine. Apart from this, he has written one second numerous poems for her. He has written numerous poems for her and put it in a book. The collection of poems is called as anthology. The collection of poems is called as anthology, and the anthology which William Butler Yeats had written for Modcon is titled as The Rose. It is titled as The Rose. Rose was published in 1893, and 22 poems are written there in The Rose. There are 22 poems in this anthology which are dedicated and written for Modcon. He was madly in love with her, but Modcon never replied back to his love. She never answered, she never reciprocated, she never responded back to Yeats' love. So Yeats' love remained unrequited. Yeats' love remained unrequited. That means it remained unanswered. Love not returned in the same way. Unrequited means love not returned in the same way. That means Modcon, with whom the poet was madly in love with, but she never reciprocated to his love in the same way. Understood till here? So what happens in this poem? Basically, William Butler Yeats tries to take Modcon to the journey in future. Journey in future. And he wants her to read this collection of poetry. This collection of poetry, which is titled as The Rose. Fine. But when she'll be old, because when he takes her to the journey in future, she will be old at that time. Her hair will turn grey, would have turned grey. So at that time he wants her to read this collection of poetry, The Rose, because at that time her understanding of love would be different. She would have grown mature at that time. She will take and perceive things differently. So at that time, she may understand, she may realize how much poet had loved her, how much he used to love her. And she'll understand the reality of she will understand what true love is all about. Those poems will make her realize about the poet's genuine and constant love. Genuine and constant love. I hope it is understood till here. Fine. So that was the gist of the poem. Let's start with the analysis of the poem. Fine. If we talk about the voice, if we talk about the voice of the poem has intense emotion. The poem is intensely emotional and personal and has a sad tone, because poet talks about his emotions and feelings which he had within him towards Modcon. The person whom he loved truly, but his love remained unrequited. It remained unanswered. So it is intensely personal, emotional, and has a sad tone. If we talk about point of view, as poet is talking about his own emotions and feelings, so the first person point of view has been used. And when we come to themes, the first theme that we witness in this poem is love. Love which poet has, which Yeats has for Modcon. Then loss. It is the loss of the poet and Modcon as well. The poet has lost the love of Modcon because she never reciprocated to his love, and loss from the perspective of Modcon as well, Modcon's side as well, because when she'll read those poems in her old age, she will realize that she has lost the true love in her life. She has lost the true love in her life. And the third one will be regret, because when she'll realize she has let gone of the true love from her life, she will regret upon her decision for not responding to the poet's love. And she cannot get it back at that time in that old age when poet will not be there around her. He will not be there in the world. Fine. That is why she will regret for upon her decision for not responding back to the poet's love. Hope it is understood till here. After that, this brings us to stanza 1. So in first stanza, full of sleep means approaching death. You can write down the meaning along with me on your notebooks. Full of sleep means approaching death. Nodding by the fire means feeling drowsy before fire, feeling drowsy and sleepy. Feeling drowsy and sleepy before the fireplace. Before the fireplace or hearth. ठीक. So poet in the first stanza says, when you're old and grey and full of sleep. So poet takes Modcon to the journey in future. When she'll be old, her hair will turn grey, and she'll be almost approaching death, when she will have nothing else to do, when she'll be all alone, in isolation, in seclusion. She will not be left with that stamina, with that energy that she would have in her old sorry in her youth. And nodding by the fire, when she'll be feeling drowsy and sleepy while she'll be sitting in her chair before the fireplace, and slowly nodding her head. You know, when old people sit before fire, they are sitting alone in the chair and they feel drowsy, they slightly move their head up and down in while sleeping. So when she'll be in that condition, at that time the poet wants her to take down this book, which book in which he had written number of poems for Modcon, and slowly read. He wants her to take down this book and read each and everything slowly and patiently, so that she will understand each and everything that is written in it. And dream of the soft look your eyes had once, and of their shadows deep. Why does he want her to read those poems? Because while she'll be going through those poems, while she'll be reading those poems will remind her. Those poems will remind her of her gentle and charming looks, of her gentle and charming looks. The beauty that she had in her youth, those dark, attractive, and deep eyes that she had. Those poems will recall that time for her. Not only that, while she'll be reading those poems, that will also make her realize about the genuine and constant love for her. She will get to visualize the time that she has lived in her youth, because poet has given the description of each and everything in those poems about Modcon. So while she'll be reading those poems, she will get to visualize that time that she has lived. She will be reminded of her beauty, of her gentle and charming looks, of her attractive looks, of her deep, dark, and attractive eyes. And also, she will be made to realize the genuine and constant love that poet had for her. And when does poet want her to read his collection of poetry? When she'll be old, when her hair will turn grey, almost approaching death, when she'll be alone in her life, when she'll have nobody around her. She'll be in seclusion, in isolation, sitting in her chair before the fireplace, when she'll be feeling drowsy and sleepy. At that time, he wants her to take the collection of poetry that poet has written for her, which will make her visualize the time that she has lived in her youth, and will also make her realize about the genuine and constant love that poet had for her. I hope stanza 1 is understood. Fine. Now we move on to the second stanza. Write down the meaning of the phrases first. Glad grace means youthful age. Glad grace means youthful age. Pilgrim soul means pure heart. Pure heart, soul or holy soul. Pure heart, pure soul or holy soul. And then sorrows of your changing face. It means change of beautiful looks into an unpleasant one. I'll repeat, change of beautiful looks into an unpleasant one. So in next stanza, the poet says, how many loved your moments of glad grace, and loved your beauty with love false or true. So poet says, There must be so thousands of men around you who claim to love you, uh, who claim to love you, who admire you, but their love is confined up to your external beauty. They love you for the beauty, for the physical charms that you have, for the charming and attractive looks that you have. They love you for that. So you cannot say that their love is true, because they love you for the beauty you have, for the charming looks you have, for the attractive eyes you have. So, but one man loved the pilgrim soul in you. So, amongst those thousands of men, there was this one man who had loved you for the pure heart, for the pure soul you have, for the person you are, for the qualities you have as a person, who loved you for your internal beauty, who loved your internal beauty and not your external charms, not your physical appearance, who had loved the beauty of your soul, the beauty of your heart. And then he says that is why he calls his love as divine and spiritual, because his love was beyond all these parameters. His love was genuine, it was spiritual. Then in the last verse the poet says, and loved the sorrows, one second, and loved the sorrows of your changing face. You know, with time what happens, your face goes through many changes. There are you don't look as beautiful as you used to look in your youth. There are your face is full of wrinkles. That beauty is lost, that grace is lost, isn't it? So the poet says, when you lose your beauty, when you lose your charm, when you lose that grace from in your face will be full of wrinkles, but his love will not change with the changing beauty of your face. In fact, he will love all those changes that Modgon was going through in her life, in her old age. He will love those changes as well, because his love was not confined up to up to her external beauty. So whether she is beautiful in her old age or not, it doesn't matter to the poet at all, because he had always loved her for the pure heart and soul that she had. And as you know, the basic nature, a person can never change his basic nature, isn't it? Similarly, whatever she was as a person, that she will continue to remain as that person throughout her life. And that is why poet's love will remain constant, it will remain as genuine as it was when Modgon was in her youth. The changing beauty of Modgon will not change poet's love for her. Poet's love will not change with the passage of time, although the beauty will change with the passage of time, but not the poet's love. Hope it is clear. So in the next stanza, what does the poet say? There might be thousands of men who love you, admire you, who will be around you, but their love is not true. That is, their love is false, because their love is confined up to your external beauty. They love you for the beautiful eyes, for attractive looks that you have. But amongst those men, there was this one person who had loved you for the internal beauty you have, for the person you have been, for the qualities you have as a person, and not for your external charms. And he will love all those chains that your face will go through. He will love those wrinkles on your face as well, because he was never concerned. His love was never concerned with the external beauty that you had, with the physical appearance that you had. That is why his love will remain genuine and constant throughout his life. It will not change with the passage of time. Okay, In stanza 3, the poet repeats his lines again, his verses again. First, write down the meaning of glowing bars. It is hearth. Again, fire, place. And bending down beside the glowing bars, murmur a little sadly. So again, the poet says, when you'll be old, when you'll be sitting in your chair, when you will have nothing else to do, at that time, when you'll be going through these poems, you will realize what you have achieved, what you have lost, what do you have in your life, and what could have been there in your life. Because with old age comes the maturity. A person becomes more mature. His or her understanding towards different things change. His perceptions change with the passage of time, with the old age, isn't it? Similarly, when she'll be going through those poems in her old age, when she will realize what true love is all about, what life is all about, at that time, she will murmur, she will speak softly to herself. She'll be sad about everything that she has let go of in her life. When she'll think deeply about what she could have achieved and what she hasn't, she will really feel sad that how love fled and paced upon the mountains overhead and hid his face amid a crowd of stars. Amid means among. So when she'll realize how much poet had loved her throughout his life, she'll feel sad about it, because that love will no more be there in her life. It would have fled with high speed over the mountains overhead and will hide its face somewhere in the stars. That means it will vanish, it will disappear somewhere in the sky. The other way in which we can perceive this stanza is that when she'll realize a poet's love, poet's true love, but she will realize that she won't be able to get that love back in her life. Why? Because that love would have fled. What do you mean by it? If even if she would extend her hand to get that love back in her life, she cannot get it, because poet will not be alive in this world at that time. He would have been dead at that time. He would be dead at that time, and she cannot get him back in her life again. He would be there somewhere in the mountains, somewhere in the stars. As it is said, when a person dies, he becomes a star. Similarly, when poet would be dead, he would become a star and would be there and would disappear somewhere in the sky, and she cannot get him back in her life. And while she'll be thinking about all these things, she will regret. She will regret upon her decision for not responding back to poet's love when it was the time. When it was the time. So that was the end of the poem. In the next video, we are going to discuss the poetic devices that are present in this poem. I hope you like this video. You have understood each and everything that has been written in this poem. Even if there is any confusion, you can write that in the comment section. I'm going to answer all those questions. If you like the content, do not forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much. Take care. Allah Hafiz. Bye bye.